Today on DNVR Buffs Live, Damione Lewis on the move back home to coach the D-line for the Miami Hurricanes. Is Coach Sapp the perfect replacement for him? Happy Tiersday also. It's been a minute. We're back ranking Big 12 contenders. Shedeur Sanders makes history once again. New mock drafts and much more. Let's go.
Squad!
Welcome into Toyota Lounge, driven by your Front Range Toyota stores. Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. We are back in studio. It feels like it's been ages. Lots of change, I guess, right?
Quite a bit, bro. Good to be back here with you, man. Dynamic duo in the building, you feel me?
Good old two-man game. What's up, chat? How's everyone doing today on this Tuesday?
Squad.
Lots to get into, man. A new mock draft that shakes things up a bit that we'll get to. Shedeur Sanders makes history. Happy Tiersday once again. We've lost another assistant coach. Damione Lewis is going home to coach the Miami Hurricanes, to be their defensive line coach. This is the third assistant, Dancy and Lodeholt.
Believe that's right.
We've lost this offseason.
Believe that's right.
Scale of 1 to 10, freak out meter. Where are you at with this?
Freak out meter is funny. I'm gonna go right at 4. DLew is a hell of a coach, and he did a hell of a job here at Colorado. But this is the price of business. This is the price, the cost of success, more specifically. And this is just what happens again. Like when you have success, when your unit, your defensive line unit leads the whole Big 12 in sacks, is top 20 nationally in sacks, you're going to get looks, for a promotion, so to speak. And some people might see this as potentially a lateral move going to Miami, but Miami means something very special to Damione Lewis. It was where he, became, one of the top defensive linemen in college football. It obviously helped him land a long NFL career. So this is something special to him. He's going to be teaming up with Jason Taylor, another Miami great, coaching that defensive line in Miami. So this is awesome for him. But, specifically talking about Colorado, this is why, in my opinion, Coach Prime having multiple coaches for these rooms, particularly offensive line, defensive line, where there are multiple guys on the field at one time.
Yeah,
I think it's smart to have multiple position coaches, because when position coach leaves at your position, you can almost feel sometimes like damn, my guy isn't here anymore. Yep. The coach that I spend the most time with day in, day out in meetings isn't here anymore. But when a coach Lodeholt leaves, there's still a Gunnar White in the building who guys are familiar with. There's still a George Hageman in the building who guys are familiar with. When a Damione Lewis leaves, there's still a Pro Football Hall of Famer there in the room who guys believe in and trust and are very comfortable with. There's still George Hilo still there for those defensive end guys as well. So, again, when you have success, and inevitably coaches, they get poached. This is what happens. You don't have to start over from scratch, which, again, this is kind of the point that I'm making with Coach Prime, kind of seeing down the line, seeing down the future, because he expects success and he plans for success. This is kind of a contingency plan. So, and Sapp, I think he's ready. He talked a little bit about this last week. He doesn't want to be a head coach. He doesn't want to be a defensive coordinator. But defensive line coach, pass rush coordinator, to use the term that he used, that's something that he feels that he's capable of doing. It's something that I think, again, he's ready to do. That probably wasn't the case a year ago. There probably would have been some real uncertainty if Coach Sapp would have been named the defensive line coach last year without any previous head coaching experience, without, Damione Lewis, who was coached in the NFL previously along there with him. But now that he has the whole 2024 season under his belt, learning potentially under Damione Lewis how he did last year, I think Coach Sapp is going to be more than ready to kind of step in if he's being called to lead this defensive line unit here moving forward.
King Mars right there. I mean, you still have your DC, your star DC,
Yes.
and Coach Liv. And my freak out meter is like a 0.5, maybe a 1. Here's the thing. All 3 assistant coaches who have left this offseason have something in common.
Yep.
They're going home. That's different than, going to the NFL. And even then, like, being promoted to that level, like we saw it with a couple strength guys over the years. Like,
Right.
That's a great accomplishment. That's what happens when you have a program like this who is dominating the headlines. Everyone wants to talk about, and you have a year like they did where they surprise everyone, go out, win 9 games, make a big bowl game. We all wish it could have gone better, but this is exactly what happens when you have good seasons, especially at a rebuilding program.
Right.
Because you don't have time. You literally have no time to like a grace period. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
you've got to get it going immediately. And we saw results immediately from this defensive line. Hilo's still there. Sapp's still there. We had Hilo a lot on the pregame show this year. You heard directly from him. Clearly a very bright coach, someone who's come up under Nick Saban, has been on national title teams. And then, of course, Warren Sapp, who we all know who he is, the Pro Football Hall of Famer.
Yes.
Coach is always going to have someone, waiting too. Just stay patient, and there will be a hire that it may not be DLew to the caliber of like, oh, wow, immediately, like Andre Gerard, right?
For
Where
sure.
you see that and you go, okay, former Buff, former Pro, like it all makes sense, just like Lodeholt. I'd expect someone along those same lines, potentially, from the professional ranks to join this staff. I don't know who at this point. We can get into names later in the week, but
Yeah.
I'm not mad about this at all, man. Congrats to DLew, honestly.
100%.
Going back home, too. That's massive. At a program that's pretty damn good right now also.
Yep.
So good for him. The Buffs will be fine.
100%. And the Buffs will be fine because Coach Prime is still the head coach.
Yes,
He's still the head guy.
100%, yes.
I mean, he has brought these guys in who a lot of college football fans, Colorado fans previously either didn't know were in coaching or just simply hadn't heard of before. And now we all know that they are really good head coaches being poached by other, schools in the SEC, by Miami, who's going to be a top 10 program probably again here in 2025. So this is not the end of the world. And again, Coach Prime even was talking about Sapp last week on his interview with Rich Eisen. And Coach Prime talking about Sapp, he goes, first of all, the big fellow is so good at what he does. And the young man want to play for him. They can't wait to get on the field. He is so energetic. He has established trust with these young men. They don't want to let him down. So, again, you don't have to start over from ground zero when a position coach leaves, like other programs, a lot of other programs are stuck with when they have a very talented guy get a promotion to another program. Typically, you have to start a search over from ground zero and kind of hope that the guy you bring in can reach that level of the guy who left.
Right.
That won't be an issue here, I don't think, with Coach Sapp or whoever they potentially bring in alongside him to work with him. This is not the end of the world. This defensive line, also too, the talent on the defensive line.
I was going to say, this is a coveted job.
I think this is still, I think we talk about it, I think this is the most talented position group on the whole team.
Yes.
It's the defensive line. So if they want to bring somebody in, which I assume probably Coach Prime has already had these discussions, is already kind of dabbling in terms of who he might want to bring in, there will be no issues bringing in somebody who will help this defensive line continue to improve and develop.
100%. Led the Big 12 in sacks. You see the uptick in size that we saw in the player introductions on YouTube recently.
Yes.
And you know that there's guys in there who are primed to have even bigger years this year. Arden Walker, Tajay McCoy, Sam Okunlola, and Quinn Barnes. Like, there's a lot of pieces to work with for this team. So
Definitely.
just stay patient, wait and see. I'm sure Coach Prime will have something for us whenever he deems the time is right.
FX.
Happy Tiersday, everyone.
Let's go.
Have you done a Tiersday with us?
I think so. It's
Which
been a
one?
minute though. I
Probably the last one we did. It's been a minute.
I was just watching one today because I was like, I had to remind myself of what the
Really?
Tiersday kind of is, but I forgot what it was. Oh, we did bowl game
bowl game
destinations.
locations, okay.
Yeah, bowl game locations.
Well, shout out to Mama. My mama, she listens to the pod. She told me
Shout out moms.
last time she listened to this, she didn't know what we were doing. So let me explain this. We're ranking the teams on a tier list. All 16 Big 12 teams. S tier, the top tier. You are You should be expected to make it to Dallas for the Big 12 title game.
What does S tier stand for? What does S?
I always thought it was superior.
Okay.
The just superior tier, superior class,
No,
whatever.
that makes sense.
And then from there we go to letter grades: A tier, B tier, C tier.
Yep.
D tier is pointless. We're going straight to F tier. Your team needs work. All right,
Let's get it.
let's get it going. First team on the tier list. Actually, do we want to go in this order? First team up is Arizona State, the team who won the Big 12 last year.
Also, okay, we're doing okay. So we're gonna go
I'm
team
just
by
going.
team. Bet.
Yeah, I'm just.
gonna put. I'm gonna put Arizona State in the A tier.
Okay.
I think that obviously coming off a Big 12 championship this year, I think there's good reason to believe that they are going to fall off just a tiny bit. Assuming they obviously lose Cam Scatterbo to the NFL. Obviously, their quarterback is back. Jordan Tyson is back. They made some nice additions in the transfer portal defensively as well. But I can see this team. It's hard to go back-to-back in college football in terms of a conference as polarizing as this one is. So I think Arizona State will be good. Not necessarily S tier. I got them at A. What about you?
Completely agree. I think they're one of the biggest candidates to take a step back. I mean, Cam Scatterbo was their entire offense.
Facts.
They got a lot of pieces to work with still. Jordan Tyson coming back. Sam Levitt was impressive, but you have a target on your back now, too. It's going to be a little different this year than it was last year, as the gritty underdog, no one believed in us type of thing. And you go out and surprise damn near every team that you play against. Everyone's going to be ready to play you this year. So
yeah, that's the biggest thing too. Like you can kind of sneak up on people in 2024 when you're Arizona State, especially earlier in the year.
Yes.
You're not going to catch anybody by surprise in 2025. Teams are going to get up to play you, much like how Colorado is what has experienced these last couple of years. We'll see how Coach Dillingham and the Sun Devils kind of handle that in here in 2025.
The Baylor Bears. Surprising season.
Yeah, I like Baylor.
6-3 in conference last year.
I got them C tier.
Okay.
No disrespect.
Sawyer
I think they're a
Robinson
good
coming
team.
back, though? That doesn't do anything
I
for
like
you?
Sawyer Robinson. Do we think he's going to be better than he was this year? Because he was really good this year.
He was.
And if he was better than he was last year, then he's probably an NFL quarterback. And I don't know.
I don't know either, but what I saw last year,
He was really
especially in the
good.
Colorado game,
He was really good.
It was eye-opening. 62% completion, over 3,000 yards, 28 touchdowns to 8 interceptions.
It's pretty good. Dual threat. Can use his legs too. I like David Aranda a lot, especially as a defensive mind. They're going to be a good team. They're going to be right in the middle of that pack, around that 7-9 range of the Big 12, I say.
Okay.
So I like C.
We'll put them in C tier. I probably would have pushed for B tier, but I'll save my power for another team, I guess. Next up is BYU, the team that Colorado faced in the Alamo Bowl, took it to Colorado in the Alamo Bowl. Another surprise team. They were voted, somewhere 12th to 16th, down at the bottom of the Big 12. Really surprised a lot of guys or a lot of teams this year. 7-2 in conference. Retzloff is back. How do you feel?
S tier.
Ooh.
Coach Sataki, don't play around. He's got a quarterback. He's always going to have trenches handled both sides of the ball. Yeah, I think they're going to be, again, probably a preseason top 15, top 20 team. That home field advantage they have up there in Utah is crazy as well. So I think BYU is going to be really good again here in 2025. One of the best teams in the conference.
I mean, it was a slim margin, but they allowed the fewest points in the Big 12 last year, only 199. I mean, yeah. Colorado had 201, ASU had 200, so it's a tight group there. But Kalani Sitake is one of the best coaches in the country, bar none. We saw that on full display in the Alamo Bowl. You're absolutely right, S tier. Cincinnati's up next. I think Sorsby is back. They lose Corey Kiner, the running back. But they had some pieces. The tight end, I can't remember his name right now. He was a good player.
Yeah.
They gave Colorado a bit of a scare.
They did.
That was at home, too. How do you feel about Cincy?
I'm going to put them right next to Baylor. I think they're another kind of they're a good team, kind of right in the mix of that Big 12. Scott Satterfield really impressed me with the job he did here. I thought for sure Cincinnati would be a bottom 3, bottom 4 team in the Big 12 in 2024. They were not. They were a solid team. And again, like you said, they played Colorado really well in Boulder. So I like Scott Satterfield again, kind of, I believe this is year 3 for him.
I think so. You're right.
Kind of, again, building on the momentum I like Cincy right here in the C tier.
They only went 5-7 last year. Overall. 3-6 in the Big 12 though. This is right though. It's C tier. They're a team that I think could make a leap, but in terms of expectations and contenders right now, no, not there yet. Should we save the Buffs for last?
Sure.
So Houston, a frisky team, an interesting team, maybe a bit of a polarizing team in the Big 12. I could see them being voted to finish down near the bottom again. I could see a lot of people believing in what Willie Fritz did in his first year too.
Yeah.
And having them higher up in the contenders list. They're obviously not close to C tier, or I'm sorry, to S tier, to contending for the title yet. C tier also? B tier maybe?
You said frisky. First letter of frisky is F.
Wow.
That's where
You're
I'm
going
putting
to
them.
F tier.
And I like Connor Wigman, the quarterback transferring from Texas A&M.
Yeah.
He hasn't been super productive, but I think he has some talent. I just think that the Big 12, and Houston's going to hang around some games. They're going to steal one or two. But I think the Big 12 is too good, and I think they'll end up bottom 3 in the conference here, most likely again. Somebody's got to go in the F tier. Houston is going to be one of them for me.
That is true. Someone does have to go in the F tier. Put him in there. Oh, we're going long. I didn't even realize. Let's take a break.
Let's do it.
Shout out to the homies over at Live Well, your one-stop shop out here in Colorado for all your marijuana needs, whether it's flower, edibles, concentrates, all that good stuff. Best staff in the game as well. Hit them up and use the promo code DNVR25 when you're in store. You'll receive 25% off one of their amazing products today. They've got an insane selection. Go check out their menu online, livewell.com. You can do an online pickup through that website as well. Scan the whole menu. Makes it super convenient and easy to pick up your order. All you got to do, pop in, show your ID. When you do that, though, mention the code DNVR25, and you can still get that discount. Again, 25% off one regular price item. Some restrictions apply, but hit up our homies over at LiveWell.
And shout out to the homies over at Game Time, man.
Sir.
Now that football is officially over, man, it is officially basketball season, officially hockey season, man. The Nuggets are balling right now, man. I think they're on a nice low win streak. Are the Avs balling right now, too? I'm not really sure. Are they cooking a little bit? I think
How do you say the guy's name? Alyssa. Netchus? Netchus. Is that his name?
That's the guy that the Avs traded for, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's been going crazy.
Yes, he has. So, I mean, yeah, y'all gonna want to check out the Nuggets and Avs here in person here before the season ends. And the best way to do that is sliding over to our guys over at Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code DNVR for $20 off your first
BUFFS.
purchase. What?
Code Buffs. That's my fault. Sorry.
Okay. That's the code?
Yes.
Go Buffs. Say that again so they know
Buffs.
for sure.
Use the code Buffs. BUFFS.
Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code BUFFS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
I knew I forgot something today. That was it. All right, back to Tiersday. Let's take a look at the list so far. We got 5 teams up there, only 1 team in S tier, BYU, ASU in A tier, 2 teams in C tier, Baylor and Cincy, Houston in F tier. Harsh.
Somebody's got to be there.
Iowa State is up next.
That B tier is looking a little lonely. Let's stick Iowa State in there. Again, I think they have one of the best coaches in the conference, one of the best in college football, and Matt Campbell. They're losing quite a bit. Pretty much their whole offense, if I'm not mistaken, which was really good here in 2024.
Yeah, the receivers, I think, are gone. And
Right.
But Rocco Becht is back.
Rocco Becht is
Not
back.
a great year this last year, but
No,
decent.
But I like him, and I think him without the weapons, we'll kind of get to see who he really is as a quarterback. But regardless, I think this is going to be a balanced team, well-coached team. I think Iowa State will contend, at least for most of the season, for a conference championship. I like them there in the B tier.
No, I like that spot too. I'd even maybe push for A bit just because they are who they are. They're just a feisty team that you just don't want to play. I don't think anyone ever really wants to play them. ASU really handled them well in the Big 12 title game. It's going to be a big game. I think this is in Boulder this year, Iowa State coming to town. So we'll see what happens here in a few months.
Definitely.
Kansas, the Jayhawks. Jalen Daniels is back. Devin Neal is gone.
And Jalen Daniels is already hurt again. If you
yes,
hadn't
he
heard
is.
that.
Yeah.
He had off-season surgery here recently.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They said he'll be limited throughout spring and potentially the fall. So that's not ideal.
New year, same story.
100%. So with that being said, I'm going to stick Kansas right in that C tier next to our guys at Baylor and Cincinnati. They're going to be able to steal a couple games because they're going to be able to run the ball. Mm-hmm. I do still think that they're relatively well coached by Lance Leipold, but they just don't necessarily scare me, especially if they have to go on the road and play a solid Big 12 team. So I think Kansas is C tier.
I mean, I can't remember where we put them when we did this last year, but I would say they're probably around B tier just because of the Jalen Daniels thing. But we saw firsthand, Devin Neal was their offense this year. When you have to ask Jalen Daniels to throw the ball 25 to 30 times a game, it ain't going to work.
Not going to go well for you.
B tier.
They're losing their top two corners, too.
That is true. I forgot about that. Kobe Bryant and Mello Dotson moving on.
Right.
B tier. Yeah.
You putting in B?
Or I'm sorry, C tier. C tier. I apologize. K-State. I mean, Avery Johnson's back. Dylan Edwards with the bowl game for the ages.
Yeah.
And it's K-State. I mean, S tier has to be, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This team is really good, man. Well coached. And I think you mentioned that bowl game a lot of times can either propel you into the next season or kind of be an omen for the next season of things not going well. But Kansas State, particularly offensively, led by Dylan Edwards, I think that could be a catalyst for how they look potentially in 2025. Again, another year under Avery Johnson's belt, because that's kind of been the biggest knock on him these last two seasons, or at least this season 2024. He's just so young. With him and the full year of experience of just starting under his belt, I think Kansas State, again, I probably will enter the year preseason top 20. They'll have a chance to win the Big 12 for sure this year, and I can't wait for that matchup, Colorado versus Kansas State, that rematch.
Their leading receiver, Jace Brown, is also back. I mean,
he's a demon, bro. I like him a lot.
He's good. They're just one of the most well-coached, well-rounded teams in the conference. I mean, they're going to be up here as long as they keep bringing in this talent, and Chris Kleiman's the coach.
Definitely.
All righty. Oklahoma State, the Cowboys. I mean, voted. I think they had multiple first-place votes. Up there as the top team preseason last year.
100%.
And maybe the most disappointing team, maybe besides Florida State, maybe besides them, the most disappointing team in all of college football last season.
It's fair, bro. And when you go into 2025, what do you point at for optimism?
There are questions all over the place.
You can say we still got our coach back, but even then,
you lose Ollie Gordon. Your 18th year quarterback is finally hitting the retirement home.
Yeah.
Defensively, they were just a pushover against Colorado, at least.
Most of the season.
Most of the season. The BYU game, wasn't that a 45-42 game or something?
I think when we talked about it going into that Oklahoma State game, they had given up like 35-plus points in like
that's right,
crazy amount of games. So
this has to be F tier.
They're F tier. Again, there's no really tangible reason to point to them being a lot better than they were in 2024. So, yeah, they got to be down there.
We might have to actually make a new tier for them because, good Lord. TCU, a team that is recruited really, really well under Sonny Dykes. Josh Hoover is back, I believe, at quarterback. Josh Beck, or what's his name? Beck, the wide receiver? I can't remember his first name.
I think it's Jack.
Jack Besh. Getting a lot of NFL draft buzz right now.
He looks like he might be a player.
He impressed me throughout the season.
No, he did, for sure. They had two really good receivers. Him and Savion, I believe, last name Williams.
Yeah, Savion Williams, too. I like him a lot.
So they had an explosive offense. The quarterback is back, correct?
Yep.
I think TCU is they're gonna score points. They're gonna be in the thick of things. I like them similar. I wouldn't mind the B tier, but I would put them C tier. I think they're just like those other teams in that C tier where any given Saturday, they could probably beat you, but not many people are probably going to pick them to finish top 3 in the conference, let alone win the conference. So I would put TCU C. They're a frisky team for sure.
I'm going to overrule you here. We're putting them in B tier.
Fair enough.
Because just look at how they've recruited. They've been the best recruiting Big 12 team over the last few years.
You're right, bro.
They have the number one class in the Big 12 coming into, or this 2025 recruiting class that's already on campus. They've been building, and you might be saying, they had a disappointing year last year. They went 9-4. They finished 6-3 in the conference.
Wow.
B-tier.
Yeah. It's impressive. And they're well coached too. Sonny don't play.
Texas Tech, this is a very interesting one. One of the most high-profile transfer classes in the country. They dropped a ton of money. There's like a feature on ESPN right now talking about how the GM in Texas Tech kind of pulled this off. So I'm going to dig into that later. But a very talented team. Taj Brooks is out. Bear Morton is back, though.
Yeah.
Micah Hudson, their 5-star is gone. But they, again, bring in one of top transfer classes in the country. Are they better this year?
I think so, bro.
A-tier?
I think so. I like that their quarterback's back. That's always a feather in their cap, especially when he's played a lot of football. And they were just a good team this year. You know what I'm saying? Better defensively than I think people give them credit for. Their head coach, Joey McGuire, has done a really good job recruiting. And you can tell that he was a former high school coach because he's really been hitting the recruiting trail hard. And they've gone crazy in the transfer portal, too, since the season ended, which is kind of what you've alluded to. So I think Texas Tech, and obviously they have a raucous home field advantage as well. So Texas Tech is, I think, going to surprise some people and be even better than they were in 2024.
Yep, that's the spot. Questions to answer, kind of similar to Colorado the last few years. How does all these transfer portal guys fit together? Can they, get the ball rolling early on? But the talent's undeniable. They're going to be one of the best teams in the conference this upcoming season. UCF, Scott Frost, he's back. Crazy. That's about all I can say about this team.
Frost.
That's all Frost for F?
What is the first? Wait, what?
Frost for F?
Yes,
F-tier?
yes, that's exactly where I was going. Thank you.
Honestly, can you tell me? Say one good thing about UCF.
I couldn't. The good players are gone. Their good players are no longer there. They have a new head coach who's coached there before. We'll see what happens.
A lot of questions to answer. They are definitely in the F tier. Barely any expectations, I think, for them coming into this season. Arizona, another team, just a train wreck this year. I don't think it's gotten better either. You kept Fafita.
Yeah.
But you lost everything else. T-Mac's gone to the NFL.
Yeah.
What do they have?
I had him F tier on my list here, but I'm going to give him C tier just because of Noah Fafita. I still have respect for him. I think he's going to bounce back. This past season seems so uncharacteristic of him. I think he's going to bounce back, even without his guy T-Mac. I think just that alone is going to help them win a couple games that people probably think that they won't. And I just can't. There's a commonality on that bottom row on that F tier of quarterback play.
That is true. That is true.
What I'm saying? I don't think Noah Fafita belongs on that tier. So because of him, I'm going to give Arizona that C tier.
You're absolutely right. The quarterback alone, but man, I just worry that this team is going to be at a major talent deficit again this year. And honestly, they might have a major coaching deficit.
That's where I was going to go. If this season looks anything like it did last year, Brennan will be out of there. Maybe before the season ends.
We'll see, man. They were already clamoring for it this year.
I know.
All right, we'll do Utah, and then we'll take a break, and then we'll rank Colorado and West Virginia. Utah, Kyle Whittingham, maybe the last ride. Devin Dampierre, quarterback. They take the OC from New Mexico as well. And this is the type of quarterback that Utah just thrives with. This athletic dual threat guy. Remember Tyler, right? Tyler Huntley?
Utah quarterback?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Tyler, yeah.
Yep. Snoop.
Yeah. He was running around making a ton of plays, and I don't even know if he was close to the best one they've had recently. Cam Rising, he was at his prime. They're beating Ohio State in Rose Bowls. What do you have Utah?
I got Utah in that A tier, right next to Arizona State and Texas Tech. I think 2024 was just a bit of a down year, an uncharacteristic year for them. And obviously you can point to the reason why. They had issues at quarterback.
Yep.
And what do? They go out and address the quarterback situation by adding who I thought, aside from maybe Kaidon Salter, was the best transfer quarterback out there, and, Devin Dampierre. And I know there are going to be a lot of opinions about that, but Devin Dampierre to me is electricity in a bottle. a true dual threat, can make plays with his legs, can put the ball pretty much wherever he wants to. He's just a playmaker at quarterback. And seems like a while since Utah's had that, because that's definitely not Cam Rising's game. He's more of a point guard, distributor. But Devin Dampier is going to create electricity. He's going to make Utah fun to watch again. And Kyle Whittingham coaching them, which could potentially be his last year as a Utes head coach. They're going to be good in the trenches. They're going to be good defensively as well. So I think Utah with Devin Dampier leading the way, they're going to be a really good team. I like them A tier.
Yeah, I think they're A tier as well. I mean, honestly, it might just be coaching for me.
Yeah.
When Kyle Whittingham actually has talent to work with and actually has a quarterback to operate the offense,
Facts.
They're just going to be a tough out, and they're going to be in the conversation. Obviously disappointing this year, but it is what it is. Let's take a break. Shout out Toyota. Man, you're going to need a Toyota out here, it sounds like, coming up in the next few hours.
Swear.
What do we have, an Arctic frost warning or something coming
That
through?
just sounds terrifying.
It does.
Arctic frost.
But if you're in a Toyota, chances are you're going to be better off on the roads than most people. Yeah, it's really miserable out here in Colorado right now. Tomorrow's is going to be even colder. Snow is coming. Yeah. Be prepared. Get yourself a Toyota, the most reliable, dependable, toughest cars on the road as well. Hit up our friends at a Front Range Toyota store near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is a proud partner of CU Athletics and the official vehicle of DNVR. Let's go places.
And before you lock yourself in the comfort of your own home, your humble abode, to avoid this cold and this snow outside, make sure you grab you some Coors Light, man. Shout out to the homies over at Coors Light, man. Choose chill this winter. And then reach for a Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door. Visit CoorsLight.com/DNVR, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Boy, I could use your Coors Light right now, man. It's been a minute, man. I've kind of been, since we left New Orleans, I've kind of been, staying away from the alcoholic beverages. But I think we've been far enough away from the swamp, most specifically, that I can dabble back into the good old Coors Light. So it's probably what I end up dabbling in here at the end of the show here.
Oh, definitely. This is going to be a Coors Light weekend for sure, because there may not be much to do because it's going to be frigid and snowy.
Yeah. It's not like there's football on to watch or anything this weekend,
Yeah. All right, chat. Here's the thing. If you're going to tell us the list is wrong and you don't like the list, you got to put your ideas out there.
Period.
At least. You can't just tell us we're wrong and then just like...
What's y'all biggest issue?
Yeah, come on.
So far.
King Mars, I'm talking specifically to you. You tell me what the biggest issue is, and we'll circle back around after the list is done.
A lot of people are asking what exactly we're ranking to.
What are we ranking? We're ranking 2025 Big 12 contenders. Tier list. C tier at the top, A tier, B tier, C tier, then F tier. We're on 15 out of 16. Two S tier teams, BYU, K-State, A tier, ASU, Texas Tech, and Utah. Everyone else kind of falls in under them. West Virginia. Rich Rod's back?
Yes.
This conference is crazy.
The Fighting Pac-Man Joneses.
They were ferocious in the run game last year. They had some moments where they really put up some points and put up some rushing yards. Oh,
King
was that
Mars
Wayne?
said that yeah.
Sorry, King Mars. Collateral damage, my bad. Wayne, you got to tell me, bro.
Facts.
What do you have to say about West Virginia?
Bro, I don't know what to make of West Virginia. I'm not going to lie. I'm not even going to sit up
C-tier?
here and act like I know what West Virginia got going on here in 2025. I don't. But, yeah, sure. C tier, that sounds about right to me.
Oh, my gosh, Sharif. Put him in C tier. Alrighty. The final team on the tier list, your Colorado Buffaloes. A lot to be said. Losing their best two players, obviously. But the best offensive lineman in the conference is going to be wearing black and gold. You have arguably the most talented quarterback room in the conference.
Yeah.
We'll see how the competition shakes out here. S tier, though. Do we have enough? We've got this defensive line. We got Coach Liv still in the fold.
Yeah.
We got a talented secondary. Transfer class is popping. Recruits coming in looking ready to contribute as well.
Yeah.
Is this a Big 12 contender?
Right after this season, I probably would have had these boys A tier, but I think two things in particular have me having Colorado S tier. One is what they've done in this 2025 recruiting class with these freshmen. We know Coach Prime plays freshmen, and I think there are at least 3 to 4 guys in this freshman class who will make immediate impacts as freshmen, particularly potentially on the trenches, offensive line or defensive line. And then also, too, the addition of Marshall Faulk.
Right.
I think also boosts them into the S tier because if you look at Colorado, their biggest weakness is probably the running game.
Yep.
It was non-existent these last 2 seasons. I don't think that will be the case with Marshall Faulk coaching that running back room. We expect them to be more balanced than they were in 2024. We expect them to have a different dimension at quarterback with Kaidon Salter using his legs. And we just talked about it. I think this defensive line will lead the Big 12 in sacks again. I think this secondary has a chance to be very good, really, really good again, even with losing Cam Summan-Craig and Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders. So I think Colorado at this point, I'm comfortable putting them next to those teams that we have already listed in the S tier. BYU, Kansas State. I think those at this point are the 3 best teams in the Big 12 as we sit here February 11th.
I'm close. I'm not all the way there. If I had to put them in S tier, but if there was if they could just be on the line, right on S tier,
sure,
that's where I would put Colorado because there are still some questions to answer. You got to run the ball better.
Yes.
Who's going to take the reins in that backfield? Who's going to be the quarterback? So a lot of new transfer pieces at big spots as well. Joseph Williams, is he going to come in and be as impactful as someone like a Zay Weaver, someone like a LaJohntay Wester or Will Shepard? If he does, then absolutely this receiving core is where it was the last 2 seasons, I think. Maybe a little bit less because you don't have Travis, but
yeah,
secondary is up there. I do think the offensive line and the defensive line got better. I would just put them on that border, though. Not quite there yet.
For sure, man. I can just see a path where this team is defensive-led, where this team has one of the best defenses in the conference in college football, and that's how they make their hay. Getting after the quarterback, we saw it. If they can figure out the trenches, and I think they already have done that defensively, but with some of these guys, the transfer guys that we've talked about, on the offensive line, guys from, Illinois, Texas A&M, Louisiana Tech, I think, again, if they can just figure out balance offensively, and Kaidon Salter gives them something different with his legs, we already expect the receiving core to be, again, one of the best in college football.
Yeah.
Omari Miller, Jalen Miller are going to break out. Joseph Williams, I think, is going to open up some eyes in the college football world. This team has a lot going for them. And, again, the coaching staff as well. Robert Livingston in year 2.
Best defensive coordinator in the conference?
100%. No doubt. So there's a lot going for the Buffs. At this point, I think they're S tier. And there's only 3 teams, to be specific, I think, that deserve that, kind of billing at this point.
Can you put the list up one more time, Dion, please? Just recapping the list before we move on here. Ranking the 2025 Big 12 contenders. We'll do this after the spring as well. This is obviously pre-spring rankings. S tier, BYU, K-State, and Colorado. A tier, Arizona State, Texas Tech, and Utah. B tier, Iowa State and TCU. C tier, Baylor, Cincy, Kansas, Arizona, West Virginia. And F tier, you got a lot to work on, Houston, Oklahoma State, and UCF.
I think that's balanced too, bro. And I feel like it's typically how it works. There's typically 2 to 4 teams who actually have a chance to win it. And then there's a pack of 5 to 6 teams in that next tier. And then everybody else pretty much. So
if I had to make one change, I think I'd just move Baylor a little higher up. I do think they're better than those teams in that tier. They at least have a quarterback compared to, Cincy, West Virginia. Shoot, even throw Kansas in there. I'll take Sawyer Robertson over Jalen Daniels.
I respect that. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that at all.
There you go. All right, a couple things to touch on. Get your questions in the chat now. We will get to them at the end of the show. Also, hit the like button, man. Get those likes up. Subscribe to the channel.
Oh, yeah.
Shedeur Sanders, this just I don't know how we didn't realize this. And it was, did you go into the origin of where this stat came from?
No.
So Shedeur Sanders is the most accurate quarterback in FBS history.
Wow.
That's a stat. He has the highest completion percentage in a career for more than any FBS quarterback. And it's kind of not close. He has a career completion percentage at Colorado of 71.8. Only 2 seasons. But Colt Brennan, rest in peace, legend, at Hawaii, previously held the record. He played 3 seasons from 05 to 07. 70.4. Shedeur is 1.4% better than the previous best, most accurate quarterback in FBS history.
That's insane, bro. And again, the most accurate quarterback in college football, throwing it, we did the math before the show. Over the last 2 seasons, he's thrown it 38 times a game, and he's still completing 71+% of his passes. I mean, and that's the thing to me that has me convinced that Shedeur is going to be just fine in the NFL, because my guy can place the football wherever he wants to. And listening to Tom Brady last week on Colin Cowherd's show talking about how he used to play the game when he got to a certain level, where it's like he's not snapping the ball unless he knows how his guy's going to get open, when his guy's going to get open, what the defense is doing, whether they're blitzing, whether they're dropping into coverage. And Shedeur has that same type of processor where he is rarely confused by a defense and the looks that they're giving him, whether they, show a different look pre-snap, kind of shift to something post-snap. Shedeur is typically almost ahead of the defense in terms of what he's looking at, the picture that he's seeing. So this is another feather in his cap, man. And it's something that we were talking about on the show. People are going to already act like they don't care about it. People are already going to act like, and already acting like this isn't a big deal. Like this isn't a hell of an accomplishment. But such is life when we're talking about Shedeur Sanders, man. The most accurate quarterback in college football has a ring to it. It's Shedeur Sanders. And again, if you watched him the last 2 years, that makes sense. You saw it pretty much every week, the consistent accuracy. When he was even in the 60s for a game, completion percentage, we were like, wow, that's probably an off game. And that's why so many times it just blew my mind where there would be games where Shedeur 70+ completion, 270 yards, 2-3 touchdowns. And people after the game, their takeaway would be like, damn, Shedeur just wasn't good.
Gotta play better.
Quarterbacks holding us back.
It's
and
insane.
it's like, man, if y'all only knew. But I just, again, I pray that he ends up in the right situation, and kind of what I alluded to yesterday. And another reason for that, I don't know if there is a bad situation for Shedeur Sanders.
Yep.
For somebody who is accurate as he is with the processor that he has. That's awesome stuff.
A lot to get to. I mean, I kind of got away from the point. I was looking at how this happened, because shout out to Matt H. He's the one, our guy on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
He kind of exposed this, and then, Shedeur quote tweets it, and then it really blows up from there. But I was digging in. How did this even start? Because I was like, how did I not know this? Like, how did we just go 2 months after the season without knowing this? A Cleveland Browns radio show was talking about this. The comparisons between Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, and they just threw it in there like just little piece of little nugget. Nothing, just glossed by it. Most accurate quarterback in FBS history, and they just kept going. Someone dug into that and actually saw the completion percentage. So shout out to those guys for doing that, and shout out to Matt H for really putting it on a platform.
I think the Browns fans are starting to realize.
They are. They are.
They're starting to realize.
On top of that, Matt H also said, he quote tweeted this, of the top 30 names on this list, Shedeur also has the second lowest career interception rate of 1.4%. On that list, the only guys who have a better interception rate, 2 guys he's been compared to.
Crazy 2 names.
Geno Smith and Joe Burrow, who had a 1.2%.
Yep.
I tried to tell y'all.
Period. Try to tell these folks, man. Yeah, when I saw those 2 names next to him, I'm like, what are the odds? What are the odds? And Dave Rich might be onto something, bro. Again, when we first did our roundtable, the Jets were the team that I said for Shedeur.
Well, okay, let's get into this.
Because, and again, they're obviously moving off of Rodgers. They got a head coach who I personally believe would vibe with Shedeur and Aaron Glenn. They got pieces on both sides. And again, this goes back to my point. I'm at a point where I don't think there is a bad landing spot for Shedeur Sanders.
Yep.
I don't think the Browns are a bad landing spot. I don't think the Jets are a bad landing spot. Obviously, we love the Giants. We love potentially even Tennessee. I think this is really working out well in terms of where Shedeur might end up. And I think wherever it is, he's going to ball.
So with that, this mock draft caught my eye today. It's from Field Yates. Shout out Field Yates, our guy. We had him at Super Bowl last year. Big fan of Travis and Shedeur. He said before the 2024 season, when we saw him at Super Bowl, literally a year ago at this point, that he wouldn't be surprised if Travis and Shedeur go 1 and 2 in the NFL draft. Stood on it on the show, and he kind of weaned off of it on his first mock draft here. But there's a new first overall player. He's got the Tennessee Titans selecting Travis Hunter. Generational. Fits the bill. I mean, this is literally, we've said it so many times. We don't have to go in depth here, but Travis is the type of player that you just pick and you figure the rest out.
100%, bro. Especially when you're in a position like that franchise is. Again, it wouldn't surprise me if they ended up going quarterback, but when the guy making that decision comes out and says, we're not going to pass up the opportunity to draft a generational talent, a generational athlete, it's got to be Travis Hunter.
Number 2, Field Yates has the Cleveland Browns selecting Penn State edge Abdul Carter. At number 3 to the Giants, he's got Miami quarterback Cam Ward. Number 4 to the Pats, he's got Will Campbell, offensive tackle, LSU. Number 5 to the Jacksonville Jaguars, he's got Mason Graham, defensive tackle from Michigan. And at number 6 for the Las Vegas Raiders, he's got Shedeur Sanders, quarterback, Colorado. Is 6 the floor for Shedeur?
Yes.
I'm beginning to think it is too.
Yes. It has to be. And, I mean, I'd be shocked if he fell to 6.
At this point, I'm getting there as well.
I'd be shocked if he fell to 6. That comment that was just on the screen from Master Stickwork, the Browns have no weapons, I disagree with that. I think they have one of the best tight ends in the league.
David Njoku carried my fantasy team.
Jerry Jeudy literally was a Pro Bowler this year.
Shout out Jerry Jeudy.
I think he finished top 6, for sure top 10 in receiving yards this year in the NFL. Obviously, he did a lot of that against the Denver Broncos, but the Browns have weapons, notably those two, and they have a running game and offensive line as well. But yes, what were we just talking about there before I went on that tangent? I'm sorry. I had to just address that.
The floor Shedeur?
Yeah, the floor Shedeur, right. The Raiders. I think the Raiders is probably my least favorite realistic spot, but the reason I don't hate it is because Tom Brady is there. And Tom Brady, I think, is going to play whatever role he feels he needs to play to help Shedeur along in this development in the NFL.
We've touched on this, though. It just doesn't fit the timeline of the organization right now with Pete Carroll and what they're doing with the coaching staff.
Exactly.
Chip Kelly, I think, could have a lot of fun with Shedeur Sanders, though, at OC, so you never know. I think, honestly, Shedeur's the exact type of quarterback Chip Kelly wants. Highly accurate, can move him around the pocket, can utilize him in the RPO game. And Chip Kelly, I mean, he was drawing up so many quarterback runs at Oregon, and I'm not saying this is something that Shedeur's going to do 10, 15 times a game in the NFL, but you pull 2 or 3 of those plays out in spot situations, those could be chunk gains, big plays for first down. So I'm not mad at the fit. I would hate if he went to the Raiders, but with Chip Kelly there now, I'd feel better than I did a few months ago, that's for sure.
Yeah, I just feel like the Raiders are going to go the veteran QB route here this offseason.
Yeah, they've been rumored to be in on Sam Darnold already, so we'll see.
Where do you think Rodgers ends up, assuming he wants to play?
Sounds like he wants to play.
Right.
I don't know.
I think I saw today that the Steelers and the Raiders are the favorites.
What are those teams doing? They do this every year.
Bro, if the Steelers don't just make Justin Fields their starter, bro, I don't know what they're
tripping. Bring Russ to the Raiders, though, because that would just be hilarious.
I agree, Girls Club. I'd feel nervous about everything in Shedeur in Vegas, except Tom Brady. That would make me feel a little bit better. Give me some solace.
Big news at the DNVR bar. Leeds just scored.
It's huge.
Big time. RK somewhere is fist pumping like crazy. All right, let's go to the chat. The Twitter chat we go. Get your questions in. We do have a super chat from someone yesterday, too, that we'll get to.
Yes.
That we missed. D. Mills, do we know if any of the recruits/players are going with him? The portal's closed right now, so We won't know till April. Christian Hudson put a tweet out there, but again, he just got there. And as you told me and reminded me, he's the one who called himself Baby Sapp.
Called himself Baby Sapp. And also, he also made a post. Him and Sapp actually go way back from 2 years ago where they met at a camp, and they've had a relationship ever since then. So
just hang tight. We got a lot of football to actually get through here, too. Shelly, what's up? I wish Marshall Faulk could put on a CU uniform. Do you think anyone would notice? I think they would, because he moves differently. He moves differently. Even at, I don't even know how old he is, 50-something now?
You think he'd still be a dog right now? And some pads?
He's probably like most NFL players where it's like, I can give you like one good series. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. It'd be a hell of a series.
It would be. What do you think? Like a 40-yard catch, like a 20-yard run? Like,
yeah, make a couple dudes miss.
I mean, come on. This is Marshall Faulk against college kids. Like,
facts.
What's up, Jesse? Do you feel better about the defense because of the front seven? The DBs are already proven very good. I think it's hard to not feel better about the defense, honestly.
Yeah. I
mean, you lose Travis, but
yeah, again, there's some the cornerback trio is elite. I mean, let's start there. Preston Hodge, DJ McKinney, and Colton Hood. I would challenge somebody to name me a college football program that has 3 proven productive corners better than those 3 guys.
Yep.
And you go down to the next level. Obviously, it may be unproven in terms of at Colorado, but Martavius French and Reggie Hughes, those are 2 veteran guys who have played a lot of football at that linebacker spot. And again, defensive line, we talked about it. I think this may be the most talented unit on the team, talking about the defensive line and the edge pass rushers. So, yeah, this defense, led by Robert Livingston, the best defensive coordinator in the conference, to me, one of the best in college football, this defense could be really good. And I think this team could be defensive-led because of that.
What's up, Eric? More likely at number 1, Travis or Shedeur? Oof, I have to go Shedeur because it's quarterback. But it's a lot. I said that pretty decisively. It's very close in my opinion, though.
Yeah, I mean, I keep going back and forth, but I'm just going to hang my hat on the generational talent part from the GM of the team who owns the number 1 overall pick and assume that he's talking about Travis. Jesse
again asks, will Shermer use Salter like they did at Liberty? We can only hope, bro.
I was going to say if he's doing a good job, you would use a lot of what Kaidon did successfully at Liberty and try to replicate that here in Colorado.
We'll see. Liberty did a lot of, I don't want to call it simple, but it was college football to a T.
Yeah.
A lot of read option, 2 backs type of stuff, heavy RPO systems. So not like that hasn't been utilized at Colorado the last 2 years. They did run, we've said this before, they did run a lot of RPOs. It was just more P's than the R and the O that happened. So we'll see. Ivan asked, which division would you rather see Shedeur at the next level? NFC East, AFC West, or another? Definitely not the AFC West. That's for damn sure.
NFC East?
NFC East would be tight because you get to see him play against Dallas all the time.
Right.
Tested against that Eagles defense. We'd find out real quick if Shedeur can make it happen in year 1.
AFC North would be fun.
Get Shedeur out of the AFC, man. We don't need another quarterback.
I hear you on that.
Y'all got to deal with some of this too, bro. Artemis asks, when's the pro day? We do not know yet. Last year it was scheduled during the Pac-12 tournament, and then it was canceled because of a snow day to like the week or 2 after.
Right.
So that was mid to late March. Late March, I think, was when it actually happened. It was scheduled mid-March.
Thing's going to be a movie, bro.
Cannot wait.
Can't wait for that day.
All right, here we go with the Super Chats. East Coast Kev. And we got a bonus one from him, too. He says, congrats to DLew. Salute DNVR. Oh, I still stand on Kendrick's performance being mid on Sunday. Top 5 Super Bowl performances. MJ, Bruno Mars, Usher, Snoop and Dre, and Prince. Honorable mention, Janet Jackson's left. Oh, my God. This is exactly what you sent us yesterday, bro. Come on.
Hey, shout out Kev, man. Hey, I agree, man. Ain't nobody going to get me off my stance about Kendrick performance being just leaving a lot to be desired in terms of me personally. But people liked it. I enjoyed the presentation, the whole performance, but the set list could have been better. We agree there, Kev.
Not every halftime show is perfect. East Coast Kev again. With Coach Rob getting his extension and Marshall Faulk being hired at $400K, Prime takes care of his people. I'll bet any amount of money Prime already had a replacement for anybody who leaves CU. Well said. Look, this guy has the most expansive, diverse, biggest network in the football industry. I mean, he's one of, if not the most popular people in the industry. People want to play for him.
Yes.
People want to coach for him. So we'll be fine. Oh, no. East Coast Kev
Let
says...
me read this.
Yeah, go for it.
Shout out East Coast Kev. He goes, I love Scott, but shut up about the New York Jets. They will destroy Shedeur's career, and that's coming from a Jets fan. Shedeur deserves better.
Wow. He knows his team better than we do.
This is exactly what people say about the Browns. And let's not forget, the Browns were literally good a few years. Baker Mayfield was a success in Cleveland.
He was.
Until they just decided to move off of him thinking that they could do better. And that's how they landed up with Deshaun Watson, which obviously didn't work out. But the same scenario was said for the Cleveland Browns. And again, I go back to our conversation with Emery last week.
Yeah.
The path from the basement to the top of the league, it's not as treacherous as people make it out to be.
Right.
They have a new head coach now who a lot of people believe in. And Eric Glenn, it remains to be seen what, he does. But I just don't agree with saying that the Jets, the Browns, any, team are who they are. They're going to be who they always have historically been. I just don't buy into that. So, again, we'll see. We'll see where Shedeur ends up. And, again, I'm of the mindset now I don't think there's a bad spot for him. And also, too, I was thinking about this yesterday. I think you all out there who say that a spot Shedeur wouldn't do well in the spot, you're discrediting Shedeur a little bit by saying that he can't overcome certain circumstances. I'm of the mindset, partly because I've seen it at two different places, that you drop Shedeur in any situation, as long as he has a little bit of help, he'll be just fine, and he'll make it do what it do. He'll make more of than what is currently there. And at all of these spots, there is just a little bit of help. In the Jets case, there's a pretty good defense there. There's a pretty good receiver named Garrett Wilson there. There's a pretty good running back named Breece Hall there, excuse me. So, and you can say the same for the Browns. There are pieces there. There's help there in place. So, again, that's kind of where I think that Shedeur, anywhere he lands, will be a good spot, and he'll make the most of it.
All right, Scotty, I'm going to agree with you slightly because, and I'm not trying to slight Shedeur here. It's just that the teams like the Jets, who have struggled for decades, all usually have a common thread, and that's bad ownership.
Sure.
And we've seen it time and time. We've seen it across multiple leagues, not just the NFL, the NBA. If you have bad ownership, it makes everything very, very difficult. Leeds just scored again, by the way, if you couldn't tell. 2-0. Yeah, they're going crazy. But when you have toxic level ownership like the Jets do, that permeates all the way through the organization. People don't want to play there. Free agents don't want to go there. Shedeur could, do good things, but what if he gets Cleveland like Baker did? You know what I mean? Like, has a good year, and then all of a sudden he gets hurt or something, and then they don't have a good offseason. They don't make the moves that Shedeur likes, and he just wants out at that point. Like, I totally understand why many people think that Shedeur shouldn't go to certain teams, because as great as he is, sometimes it's beyond his control.
It's true. And we all know how important fit is for a quarterback. And obviously there are better fits in other places. That we're not debating that. I think the Giants are the best fit for Shedeur specifically.
Yes.
There are places that are better fits than other places, but I'm just not of the mindset that there is a bad place for Shedeur to end up. Because again, if we're looking at that lens, all of them are bad. They're all picking at the top of the draft for a reason.
Yeah.
They all are coming off 1, 2, 3, 4 win seasons. And again, a lot of these teams at the top of the draft have been historically bad for the last 5-10 years.
Yeah.
So again, anything you want to throw on the Jets or the Browns, you can say about the Giants, who everybody loves, who have been bad pretty much since Eli Manning was there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and again, you talk about ownership with the Jets. What do we know about the Titans ownership? I don't know.
Well, That's true too. I mean, we can say that about Cleveland. Their owners, the Haslams, finally stepped back a bit.
Exactly.
So it does take that, but that's a lot of like swallowing pride for an owner who are 32 of the most prideful people on the planet. So, look at what happened in Washington. I mean, they had to like basically march Dan Snyder out into the streets, lock the door, change the address, and short of moving towns, do that to get rid of him. And the Jets are kind of up there. What happened this last year was really gross. You obviously do what you can to get Aaron Rodgers 2 seasons ago. The injury is what it is.
Yeah.
Derailed the season. But this last year, how they just got rid of Robert Saleh after week 4, after they just, screw it, we're just going to go get Devontae Adams. Like, we're just going to do whatever we can to make Aaron Rodgers happy. Like, it becomes toxic to a certain point.
It does. And I also just think part of the reason we look at the Giants and the Jets and the Browns particularly is because they made wrong decisions in deciding on who their quarterback was going to be.
Sure.
The Browns are on an upward trajectory with Baker Mayfield before they decided we feel like we can do better. And they couldn't, at least with Deshaun Watson. I feel like the Jets were on an upward. They were winning 7 games with Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
They were on an upward trajectory until they decided we want to do better and get Aaron Rodgers. And that flopped. And that ruins all momentum. But if you get the right guy in there, we've seen it multiple times.
Sure.
We've seen it with the Commanders. We've seen it with you get the right guy in there, which I think Shedeur Sanders is, a lot of those problems will be alleviated. And that's where I feel like will happen, wherever Shedeur ends up.
I'm just saying that I'd rather Shedeur not go to places like the Jets. Just because, let's face it, it probably is an easier path in Tennessee with the Giants. If whoever wants to trade up, like, it's just an easier path when you don't have an owner meddling, always having to get his opinion in like the Jets do.
I get it.
Got 2 more months left. We're going to be talking a lot more about the NFL draft, obviously, as we work on. Here's East Coast Kev's from yesterday. He said, and Snoop Dogg was good at the Super Bowl with Dr. Dre. Don't forget Prince and Janet Jackson's boob. Thank you. Thank you, Kev.
Facts.
Thank you. Fun show. We'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same place. See you then. Let's go Buffs.
We all silly like the mayor.